Hello friends, today I'm going to show you how to use abstract factory pattern in an API. So if you are watching this for the first time, we have already discussed what is simple factory, what is a normal factory method pattern, and this is abstract factory. Okay, so we will be using the abstract keyword, we will be using abstract classes, and a factory that will help us generate the concrete objects, the concrete class and the concrete objects, and how we use that. That's what we are going to learn here. Okay, so just a brief explanation of what we are going to do here. We have a model class named patient, okay, which has certain features, certain characters, and certain fields, and we would be using that one to develop the abstract factory pattern. We have a controller, that's the patient's controller, and it has only one action method. We are using dependency injection here, and you can see that the factory selector is used as a dependency injection. Going to the program.cs, you can see that we have registered the service and we are using that one. And I have a class which has all the abstract products, the abstract factory and the factory selector, the concrete products, and their respective factories. All right, so let me just show you a quick idea. Abstract factory pattern in a web API. So what do we have in an abstract factory pattern? We have a client, we have abstract factory, and we have abstract product. So the client does not have direct contact with the products that's being produced by the factory, or the final products are never in touch with the client. The client only interacts with the abstract factory and the abstract product. So he just remains aware that there is a factory which is producing items, and there is a product which is being produced by the factory. He has no direct contact with the exact product that's being produced. He gives us a reference and we give him the output, the final result. So client interacts with abstract factory, client interacts with abstract product, and abstract factory interacts with the concrete factory. Concrete factory creates the products. So if we have to produce two products, then the concrete factory is responsible for producing those products. But it's the abstract factory which directs the concrete factory that what kind of products needs to be produced and what methods needs to be followed. Or you can say that the abstract factory is uh, it produces the rules. It has the protocols which needs to be followed for creating a product that's mentioned by the abstract factory, and the factories need to implement that protocols or that rules to create their product. Okay, and finally the product is developed and created with factory 1 or factory 2. Moving ahead to the beginning of the program. So we create an API using an API controller. We inherit that from the controller class. We install the required NuGet packages. We configure the connection string in the app settings.json file, and we create the required model class and configure it in the DB context file so that we can register it on the database. Then we create the abstract classes, declare the product methods, create the abstract factory class, declare the abstract method of the abstract class that you created. Inside the second one, or step 6, inside the abstract factory, we declare abstract methods. Okay, of what type? Of the abstract class that we created before that. Now we create the concrete product, the concrete product factory, which inherits from the abstract factory, and it overrides the method that was defined inside abstract factory, and it returns the concrete method. Okay? We will see that in action, do not worry. Create the factory selector. After all this, we create the factory selector class and define the abstract factory method with a parameter. We define that and we are accepting the parameter like what kind of concrete product we are going to fetch and return the desired concrete factory, not the product. Now moving ahead, we will go to the controller class, and we will initialize the DB context and the factory selector with dependency injection. We will register all the dependency injection types in the program.cs, or if you're using less than .NET 6, then you will have startup.cs to avoid certain errors that has unable to resolve services error. We need to avoid that. So we will register the dependency injection in the program.cs. And finally, we create an action method to accept data as parameter. Let's see this in action. So here we have, from the beginning, we created an abstract class. So here we are using the example of patient. So every patient will have a first name, have a last name, age, address, and what type of patient it is. Next, we will have an abstract factory which will have a method, abstract method of type the abstract product or the abstract patient. Okay, and it has a get patient method. So anyone who is implementing the or inheriting the abstract factory is bound to use the get patient method. Okay, now we will move on to the concrete classes. The concrete class inherits the abstract patient. Okay, and it has, when it's inheriting the abstract patient or the abstract class which was created at the beginning, it will have to have all the fields mentioned inside the abstract class. So address, age, first name, last name, they're all defined. Now those methods, what are they returning? They are returning anything. Whatever they received, they would return that one, because we are using a parameter. Or you can generate within that, within the method, you can generate what type of output you want to return. So here, as it is a casual patient class, it's returning a casual patient as the type, and it's classifying the age which it is received in an integer into three different types as adult, minor, or senior. And then we are moving up. Okay, let's. So the same thing happens with outpatient. The same thing happens with inpatient. Now comes the patient factory. So these factories will inherit the abstract factory. And as they're inheriting the abstract factory, they are bound to define and override an abstract method that was defined, that was declared inside the abstract factory. Now, getPatient was the abstract class that, I'm sorry, the abstract method that was declared inside abstract factory. So we would use that one, we would override that, and we would return the type of concrete class that we need to output from this factory. So here we are giving an output of casual patient. Now same thing happens with outpatient factory. It's inheriting from the abstract factory and it's returning outpatient type. So this is the concrete method it's inheriting, it's returning. Now, so we did this with all three types of factories: the outpatient, the casual patient, same goes with the inpatient as well. And this is overriding. Why? Because abstract methods need to be overridden. Okay. Now next we would have a factory selector class, which is going to give us the output of that type what we asked it for. So we have to select the choice, or we have to send it our selection, and then depending on that, it will give us an output of that type of factory, and the factory produces the product for us. Okay. So let's go to the controller class and see. Here is the controller. So this is the patient's controller. It's an API controller. If you remember how we create an API controller, so it's a new project, select web API, select the project name, and select the .NET 6 as the program type. And when you come up here, select, you would have a controllers folder, right click on that, add new controller, and you have to select the API controller, web API controller from it, not the normal controller. Once the controller is here, the inheriting would be by default controller base. Make it controller class if you want to return JSON type of data. Otherwise, controller base is good enough. So I'm returning JSON type of data. That's why I used controller class. Now, I'm using dependency injection for the DB context file. I didn't show you the DB context. Okay, so you might have looked at the class file that we have here, the patient class that we're using. This is directly related with the table, and we have the DB context file inside the data folder. So that is inheriting application DB context, inheriting from the DB context class, and we instantiated that one inside the constructor. Now, virtual DB set patient. This is the name of the table that we are using in the database. Now, I have a database which is known as the web doctor, and it has one patient in it. We will use this program to create few more patients, and we will use that. So now factory selector, we have used this as used it as a dependency injection because I did not want to create a new instance. Okay, tell me what's wrong here. We are looking at this. I have also created a dependency injection for the class file. What's wrong here? Think. Should we pass a class inside dependency injection? Yes? No, we should not. This is a wrong attempt. We should not. Why? Because it's most, in most cases we use new method. Okay, we should use the. It's required by a project that we create new instances. And if we are doing it by dependency injection, we will never be able to create a new instance. So that's a wrong approach. Do not use that one inside dependency injection. Do not use a class as a dependency injection. A model class, I mean. Okay, so let's remove that one. This is a wrong approach. You should not use a model class as a dependency injection. Everything else you can do that. Okay, went wrong. Okay, let's see. Right now you can see that I have a post method which is set patient, or which is used to add patient type of data to the database and save that data. So it's accepting parameters, the first name, last name, or these are the fields inside the class which it's accepting, and it's processing that one um, inside the abstract factory and abstract classes. After processing all of this, it returns us the type of data that we want, and it also saves that to the database. Let's see that in action. Let's run this program. Okay, now we have the output. So it's a Swagger which is running here. Okay, guys, I'm so sorry. I missed out to inform you what NuGet packages we installed. So not too many. Swagger comes up by default. Okay. We used .NET Core Diagnostics, Entity Framework Core, Entity Framework Core.SQL Server, Entity Framework Core.tools. Okay, so these are the NuGets that we have installed here. Now, moving on to the program. So we have this API patients. Let's try to add one patient here. Let's say Harry Potter. Age is Harry Potter got old. It's two. Send that. That hit our action method. Continue. Harry Potter is added. Guys, did you notice one thing? That it's hitting the API patients and it's giving me the controller's name. It's not giving me the method's name. Tell me why. It's a post method because we did not inform any routing, so it's not giving me the patient. It's simply using set patient. Why? It's because of the route. If I pass the action name, I don't know how to pass the action name here. I could have used the route section here to define that. So if I use this same thing, route and set patient. Now you can see this. Okay, let's pass another one. Say Robinhood aged 63. Robinhood has become old. Let's say one. Robinhood is saved. Okay, let's check our database. We got three type of data: outpatient, inpatient, and casual patient. Okay, so these are the type of data that we are sending here, and we are also receiving that, and it's working fine. So if you want to see another example, I also have another example here. That's a cars controller. You can see that it's a cars controller, and we have a cars class as well. So this cars controller is having one abstract class of type car, and it's producing two types of cars. One is Camry, and one is Accord. So these are Honda. These are Honda cars. Let me see where is the factory. Okay, we have two types of factory. One is Honda car factory. One is Toyota car factory. So Toyota car factory is producing Camry. Honda factory is producing Accord, and we have an invalid. So if I do not select any choice, then it will go get to the invalid factory. Okay, and it's producing uh, two types of cars, and we have another one old model car as well. So invalid car factory will provide the old model. If you look at the invalid, it's car.get. It's returning old model. Okay, it's returning old model, right? Now we have the master factory, which is returning the abstract method of type car, and anyone who is inheriting this master factory will have to use the get car method and return the type of car they want. So driving an old vintage car, and yeah, that's so. If you want to see this in output, let's say Honda and Toyota. So H and T here. Let me send it a T. It should give me a Toyota car. Driving a Toyota car. And if I send H, it's going to give me driving a Honda car. Okay. So this is another example. Do not worry about the code. I'm going to put that in the GitHub. So yeah, I have some changes. Second change. Wait, we have left with something more. I'll show you those things. Okay, so guys, now we have created the classes, the controllers, and the factories. So let's just um, decentralize them. It's all in one place. Let's divide them. Okay, let's make it more distributed. So we patient details here. We are going to distribute them. We would classify them according to their categories and make folders and separate them. So in the controllers, let it be here. Data is fine. Let's see. Model is there. New folder, and this should have the abstract classes. Oh, where is it? No, I didn't want to put it there. This one will be the abstract classes. Inside the abstract class, let's send the abstract factory and the abstract patient. Give me a few seconds here. Let me just classify all of them and I will show you. Okay, guys. So now we have already classified all the details. We have put them into separate classes. So now you can see that there is a factory class and I have my casual patient factory, outpatient factory, inpatient factory, and the factory selector in it. We have a concrete class, concrete.cs, and we have put all the concrete classes with their definitions in it in a separate class file. So casual, outpatient, and inpatient in a concrete.cs, and that's inside another folder. That's in a separate folder. Now we have the abstract factory, and this is abstract factory and abstract patient. We have put them in one place, abstract classes. So abstract factory is there, and abstract patient is there, and we have used all of them uh, with their class dot uh, object to access them. You can see that. Okay, dot those folder name to access it. Oh, abstract factory is missing. Okay, I will do that. Static, this one is not required. It all seems good now. Let's see once we run it, and we will see that it runs fine. Build errors, no. Factory selector. Okay, so yeah, we saw that the factory selector was not reaching its namespace, so we had to adjust that one. Now it's inside the factories, that's why. So adding a reference to that one worked. Okay, remember this, when we are using abstract classes, using static comes up, okay? The static keyword comes up because we cannot use an abstract class as a reference like that. Now it's not used, so we will remove this one. And let's see, our program runs fine. Patient controller, let's say that is Linda 325 from London, patient type 3. Continue. Yep, we got a result. Let's say in the database. Perfect, that worked. Okay, so the separation of the files into different folders, that also worked. I hope you understood what we went through here. I'm going to put this code in GitHub and share the link with you. So this might have helped you out in understanding what an abstract factory method is. And yeah, remember that any abstract method we are using, any abstract class we are using, and inheriting that in a child class. So we will have to mark it as override when we are using that abstract method inside the parent class. We have to override that method. Okay. All right, guys. So that was all for this video. I hope you understood everything we did. Code will be shared, and we will have a couple of more videos coming in, a couple of more patterns coming in. Stay tuned, stay connected. Until then, happy coding. Thank you.